I guess the thing to do like 3 months ago when the new year was starting was to do your ins and outs for 2024. And I wrote this video sometime around then and then just never filmed it. So here we are. My first in for the year is stretching. I was never big into stretching, whether I was going for like a run or working out or anything like that. I just didn't really do it. But recently I've been feeling like very tight in my muscles and joints, and I'm kind of embarrassed over my lack of flexibility. So just before I work out and things like that, I'd like to stretch a bit more. Number 2 is thinking about what I'm gonna say before I actually say it. And I know that sounds really stupid. That's like the first thing they teach you when you're a kid growing up, that and like treat others the way you wanna be treated. But sometimes I say stuff and how I say it in my head is completely different than how it comes out and is received. So in my head, I'm saying something that means one thing, and then someone else tells me that they receive it in a way that's completely different than what I intended. So I've had people say back to me what I tell them, and they're like, do you understand how maybe that upset me? And I'm like, yeah, I understand now. I didn't realize that's how it came out. So sometimes I'll try to literally say to myself what I'm about to speak out loud before I say it. That way I can try to better understand how it's going to be received. Another example of that is sometimes some things just don't need to be said. There are situations where I think I'm being funny, or I'm trying to jump in and be helpful because I think I'm right about something, but truthfully, I don't need to say anything. Sometimes the times where I'm trying to be funny really just, it ends up being hurtful to someone. And other times, if I try to jump in and be helpful, it just makes the other person feel like they're doing something wrong and I'm trying to fix it. So yeah, I've been trying to think about how my communication is received before I actually communicate. That way it's a little bit more purposeful and I'm not hurting as many feelings. Even in the last few months, trying to be cognizant of that and thinking like, okay, think about this before I say it. I've caught myself quite a few times where I'm like, I cannot believe I was about to say that, because that would come across completely wrong, or there's really just no point. That would just hurt someone's feelings and it's not worth it. So yeah, I'm a child again, trying to relearn the basics of being a human. Number 3, pickleball. I love pickleball. And my fiance would say it's an addiction. She's probably right. I went from being like, what the heck is this a few months ago, to now I play 3 times a week. But my goal this year is to play in a tournament that I place in. So when I get 1st, 2nd, or 3rd in a tournament, I'm entering on like the beginner levels. There's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And I'm going on like the base level. I know a lot of people view pickleball as a little bit of a joke. It's a very funny sport, but I've just gotten a lot of community from it. It's something that I look forward to at the end of the day, and it keeps me active. So on those days where I'm a little depressed, if that's what it takes to kind of make me smile and give me something to look forward to, and I'm also taking care of my body, then heck yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it. So pickleball is definitely in. Number 4 is smut books. I got big into smut books maybe within the last year to year and a half. And if you don't know what they are, it's basically just like a steamy romance book. I was always against them because I never understood it, but my fiance made me try reading my first one, which was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. And that one wasn't the best, but from there it like slowly progressed to, I read a few more like Happy Place, The Fourth Wing, things like that, and I love them. Anything about a good romance trope, like I love rom-com movies, so I should have known that I would like smut books, but people hate on smut books and like romance books too much, but all I can say is don't knock it till you try it. I was a hater, and there's definitely cliches in there, like whenever you go on a vacation with your like frenemy and there's only one bed, so then you have to end up sleeping in the same bed together. Like all of those tropes and cliches definitely are there, but they're just wholesome, they're fun, and sometimes they get a little steamy. If you're looking for a recommendation on your first smut book, I would say Happy Place is a solid place to start. Number 5 is filming things because I want to. I do this for work, not this where I get to talk to the camera, but I edit videos for different social medias and things like that. And it's all client work that I do for other people, and sometimes it's pretty exhausting. This is something that started as a passion where I got to run around with a camera and just capture things. And sometimes I kind of get close to the point of burnout just because I'm sitting down at a computer doing this for 8 hours a day. And I'm not always getting to work on the projects that I want to. So maybe that's a video about my fiance. I don't really get to work on those. Instead, I'm working on an advertisement. And I still enjoy that work, but it's just different. One's work and one is creatively fulfilling. And I don't necessarily have much work right now where those two align. So this year I want to do more creative work for myself, which means more YouTube videos, more things, just like pictures around the house, whatever it is. Having an idea and just going after it because I want to, not because I'm trying to make money from it or because it's just like for work or something. Number 6 is marriage, and I got married June 22nd this year, which I'm pretty stoked about. We actually recently had to go visit the venue. It's in the contract with our venue that we have to walk through the site at least once before the actual wedding date. So Abby and I flew to Charleston to walk through it, and it was amazing. It was the first time that we saw the venue in person. So it's a few months until the wedding, and it was our first time seeing it in person. Before that, we had just seen pictures, and we were there and it just felt surreal. I'm excited for the wedding, and I'm also excited to be Abby's husband. They kind of feel like two separate things, like the actual event and then the actual existence of being Abby's husband. I'm excited for them both, and that's like easily the biggest thing this year that I'm looking forward to. Number 8 is travel. Last year I traveled a little bit. It was a lot of small trips here and there, and it was mostly work-based. So it wasn't necessarily stuff where I want to go out and I was like, oh, I want to travel to this area and explore. Still very thankful for the places that I got to see, but it wasn't a big travel year for me. And a big part of that is that we are planning a wedding. So there's a lot of expenses that we're trying to save up for. We had to pay off our honeymoon, and our honeymoon this year, we're going to Italy and Switzerland. So we are so stoked about that. I've only been to Scotland. That's my only place in Europe that I've been to. And this will be my first time in Europe aside from that, and like my first time on the main area of Europe, the main continent. And I can't wait to see it. Like, I always see all these pictures and videos. I follow all these influencers and photographers who always post stuff from that area, and it just looks like a different world. It feels like you're literally reading a book and just imagining this beautiful, serene place. And to actually think that I'll get to stand there with Abby and experience that with her feels like a dream. I don't know, I just get so giddy and excited about it. But yeah, travel this year, definitely mainly the honeymoon, but I think we're gonna try to do a few other small trips in there. Number 9 is doing what needs to be done to be my best self, and that means a few different things. I had to make the list because I always forget some, but for me that means sleeping enough, eating enough protein, taking my iron supplements, making sure I get to therapy, taking my medicine, and things like that. Sometimes when things get tough or a little bit overwhelming, the first thing to go is always my own personal needs. And as those go one by one, then I just end up being a version of myself that I'm not the biggest fan of. When I'm neglecting my basic needs, I'm not able to be there for Abby in the ways that I want. I'm not able to be a good brother, a good friend, a good worker, really anything. So I just want to do good at basically attending to my basic needs and making sure that I'm taking care of myself. Some people call that self-care, whatever you want to call it. You gotta look out for yourself. Number 10 is the modern mullet. And right now my hair is a little bit overgrown, so I need to get it cut soon, but the modern mullet is a game changer. That is all I'm gonna say. Abby convinced me to do it. I didn't think I was gonna like it because it's probably the most different haircut that I've ever had. But when I first got it, I was like, I understand the hype. Definitely something that was like made big through TikTok. So that's why I was kind of against it, because I was like, I don't just want to try like the new trendy haircut. But then I got it and I was like, I love it. It's the easiest thing to do in the morning. Yeah, I don't have much to say other than I love it. A modern mullet is very vibey. I'm a fan. Number 11 is handwritten letters. Sometimes I feel like communication-wise, I'm not the best. So sometimes a way that I like to show love is through handwritten letters. There's just something really special about someone taking the time to write something down. I mean, think about how much we text and type and how long it takes to actually write a letter, and like the thought that someone puts into it. That means a lot to me, and it means a lot to a lot of the people in my life. So that's something that I want to do a little bit more of this year. Number 12 is being on time. I am notoriously late, and it comes to a point where I honestly think it's kind of disrespectful to not be in consideration of other people's time, whether I'm meeting someone or even if it's my own personal plans. Then it's like I'm disrespecting my own personal time by not showing up for myself whenever I say that I will, things like that. So I just want to be better at being on time this year. Maybe that means sticking to a tighter schedule, actually waking up when I have alarm sets, things like that. That's an area that I want to grow in. The final one is communication, and that's just an ongoing thing for me. That's probably like one of the biggest weaknesses in my life is communicating, and it's something that I'm slowly growing in, and very painfully, I'd say, because there are a lot of situations that happen that are tough and not very enjoyable, and the only reason they happen is because I don't communicate to the best of my ability. So that's something that I'm working on in therapy, and I just want to be good about, you know, communicating expectations, communicating how I'm feeling, communication at work, making sure that I'm on top of that. Communication plays a very big part in our lives in just so many different ways. So I feel like improving on that, there will be a lot of takeaways where it affects different areas in my life. So yeah, that's all I got. Those were my ins. I don't have any outs. I decided not to do those. Didn't really want to think about anything negative and just wanted to think about areas that I wanted to grow in. So yeah, those are my ins, and hopefully I will post again in like a week or two. That's another in, is trying to stay consistent with fun creative work. So yeah, toodles.